Thank you, everybody. Welcome to, I think I'm getting sort of a solar blast right now, but welcome to the May 2024 Columbus Free Press Salon. We're focusing on housing and houselessness and the local response to what that means. All statistics show that we made more houses. We were building more houses in Central Ohio back in 2000 than we are now. And we have about a million more, or not a million, 500,000 more people. So it's definitely an issue. Housing accessibility, but as well as affordability and appropriateness and the services that the wraparound services that take for people to go from being on the street to being in a house. We're needing to talk about that a little bit more as a community. So tonight we are pleased to have several frontline soldiers on tonight. Emily Grace, who's been helping with the Heer encampment that's going on down the south side of town. Heer To Serve. Kayla Davis helped last winter with some stuff that the United Methodist Church had done on the west side, I believe, and her.
That was Heather.
Oh, that's Heather. My bad. And Kayla is
on
the right direction. Step in the right direction. Yeah. So Winie's going to introduce a lot of these folks. So Winie Wirth is one of our board members, and she has been working tirelessly as well with Gary on trying to figure out how to touch people in some of their most vulnerable times. So Winie, why don't you go ahead and sort of, because you're out with the Heer community right now with a great Emily Grace, and so please let us start our conversation with you, and then you can introduce Kayla and Heather at their time when they need to talk. So I don't know who's concerned on time, but we should be done probably by 8:30 if that's okay. Is everybody good with that? Okay. Thanks, Winie.
Thank you, Mark. So we're live here at Heer To Serve, and let me turn this thing around. Here's a sign. And usually at this time there's still a crush of people, but for some reason tonight not a lot of people came. But these tables were all full of like pudding and fruit and canned goods and toiletries. Here's the toiletries, and then clothes. And then over here we have people from OSU Medical who are giving out Narcan, naloxone. And then so this is Heer Park. It's a future park a future metro park. And so that vast field used to be full of tents, but then they came and spent $60,000. The city spent $60,000 to remove all the tents from this camp and another one. Well, they all just moved over into this woods next door. Next to it, it's right next to a water treatment plant. And it's all slated for development. It's the shopping centers next door in Great Sutherland are owned by Casto, and he's going to put in apartments that are going to be part of Rapid 5, so that it's a very enjoyable housing next to the Metro Park that adjoins this Scioto River. And so Emily was working for Mount Carmel, working with the homeless, but like that wasn't enough for her. She started coming around to Heer Park, and every Saturday night giving food. She has this whole army of volunteers from OSU. They have a group called A Heart for the Unhoused, and also some of the communists and socialists come, and church groups and Girl Scouts. and there's massive quantities of the things that we give out to the poor people. Let's see, a lot. And then there's also a person who's not here. It's Humbly Aligned, and his name is Nick Harst. He has a bus that Heer To Serve uses to take people to the laundromat and to appointments, and then he has harm reduction. He has his own nonprofit that he made, and it is it's not running. The engine needs to be replaced, and that costs $5,000. So we're going to put up a link to his. We're going to put up a link to his GoFundMe for his truck engine repair so that he can be back in business. And Emily goes, like every other Saturday she's here, and then the alternate Saturday she goes around to camps on Saturday afternoon and does wound care and gives them supplies and assesses their needs. And she's developed a nonprofit that gets funding from the Columbus Shelter Board and also Mount Carmel and let's see. Let me get my notes. It's windy out here, so I put my notes away. They were blowing away. Okay.
We'll have random students. Okay, I'm gonna pull up.
So here's the thing about the homelessness in Columbus. There's Emily, you just went to a, let's say, sound like this, man. This sun is brutal. You just went to a conference with Ohio, which is Coalition on Homelessness and Housing in Ohio. And she was on a panel called Criminalizing Homelessness.
Is the criminalization of homelessness. So we just talked about, we talked about like statewide policy changes. We talked about, what's happening locally as well in terms of anti-homeless laws. Like we have one ordinance here in Columbus called Title IX. And so what that does is Title IX's been around since like 2016 roughly. But what it does is it makes it so that let me get out of the way. It makes it so that you can't, like, specific things, right? So like you can't set up within 1,000 feet of a right of way on a public road. So like say if you're doing a pop-up event, you would need a permit if it's within 1,000 feet of the right of way of the road. And if you don't have a permit, then you can be fined $1,000 every time you set up. So that's like just one example here locally. And they tried to add things to that ordinance, like calling a tent a structure, in order to just get rid of it whenever they saw it, like sweeping it basically. So yeah, part of our talk, mine and Amanda, who's unsheltered, she was unsheltered out here living at the park. She helped us to create our transitional housing program. She was in the planning meetings, and stuff like that. So she was on the panel with me and talked about her experience with our eviction that we had in 2022, where people were told you can't be here anymore. We're not going to provide you any other shelter. And if you don't leave, we're gonna, the police had permission to tear gas us, hit us with metal knee knockers, and also shoot us with wooden bullets. They spent almost $42,000 and nobody got into housing. That $42,000 was just for the contractors to come through here. And this park actually is, so it was closed down at the time of the eviction, and now it's about to reopen. So there's $400 worth of Roundup that was sprayed in the tree line then. And so when that reopens, children will probably play in that tree line and they will be unknowingly exposed to all of that. We also talked about how it's illegal to engage in life-sustaining activities as an unsheltered person in 47 out of the 50 states. So what that means is things like if you don't have access to a bathroom and you need to urinate or defecate and it's in a public view or in a public area because you don't have bathroom access, right? Like that's illegal. We talked about sleeping in public potentially with the Supreme Court case that's pending with Grants Pass. Just being an unsheltered person sleeping in a public place could soon be illegal. And so those are like the kind of things that we really discussed. We did have the Department of Development, their title is actually the Homeless Advocacy Liaison for the City of Columbus.
LOL.
Yeah, and so what they do is they actually sign the eviction notices when they do a camp sweep. So that's who they send. The conference that I was at, it's like $600 to attend for like those 3 days. So the city paid for them to be there in their official capacity. And basically they were just like harassing me during my presentation, asking questions that were really irrelevant and just trying to like pick at specific things. And it was really gross behavior because Amanda was sitting next to me and Amanda had just got done telling like her personal experience in what it was like to have her husband's ashes that were in her tent bulldozed. And this man is like, you know what I mean? He's like, just asking these really aggressive questions to try to get me upset. And when he did that, it was as if Amanda wasn't even there. It was really disgusting. We had a couple city council members in the audience who witnessed this as well. They were, attending the session, as well as like just, some other leadership folks that, could be changing our housing, could be working on our housing and making it better, but instead are passing, ordinances and updating them and things like that with the money that they're being paid by us as taxpayers. So the conference was really eye-opening in a lot of ways. And for me, especially to know that the city sent, their Department of Development Homeless Advocacy Liaison there to attend that conference and harass me as an advocate, really shows where their priorities are and what they're thinking about, that they value that image more than they value our people. And one thing that's typically not talked about, or I don't see it that often, is, we think of people freezing to death in the winter, but we actually have more people that die in the summer than we do even in the winter time. People overheat, they get heat exhaustion, heat stroke, all of that. They don't have anywhere else to be, so they just have to stay outside in what feels like a furnace. And especially as, when we have these evictions and stuff, like, I wonder if people can see, like back here,
You go like this and you go.
oh, turn it around. Okay. So like back here, so this used to not be here. It used to be like a straight path to the camps back here. And they've cut a lot of this tree canopy back here as they're about to do evictions. And all of this will go again. They'll like come through there and chop all of that. So what that does is that just cuts the tree canopy so that when people are trying to stay shaded, stay cool, they don't even have it. They really try to make the land as uninhabitable as possible just to make them try to leave. So
Can you tell us about any pending legislation in the state or in the city?
So there's pending legislation now in Ohio, in the sorry, my brain is like not cooperating right now. It's in the Ohio, it's in the Senate, that they're basically, even if Grants Pass doesn't pass, they're trying to make it illegal to be an unsheltered person asleep in a public area here in Ohio. We already have, like I talked about the other ordinances, in Worcester, Ohio, it's illegal to inhabit your vehicle for 6 or more hours for a non-driving related activity. So, everything's trying to be micromanaged, but with this new legislation that I'm hoping doesn't pass, it probably will. Yeah, it'll make it so that the third spaces, which are the parks, here's the park, like people who don't have anywhere to go, it'll make it so that it's illegal for them to be here. And so that'll fill up the jails, which will then fill up the workhouses, which will have people working, basically for pennies on the hour. And then they won't be able to get into housing, right? Because now they're going to have criminal records. They could have other charges that come up. And if you have any warrants or open cases, you cannot be housed using federal funds. So like the majority of the programs like Mount Carmel, those are federal funds. Southeast, I believe, also uses federal funds for their programs. And so, it makes it so that people are really disenfranchised so that they can't even get housing, even though we know they're the most vulnerable.
So, so when you go around to the different camps, is it mostly on the south side here that's your territory? And how many different camps do you visit?
Yeah. So currently we're here. There's two, like really one camp here and then one camp like close by. You all can't really see it, but it's like way back over here. And then you can't really see it here, but back through here is the main one that extends all the way down. So those are the ones like that we do outreach specifically every other Saturday when we're not doing serve. But I'm involved in getting supplies to other camps. So like First Collective, we share a lot of resources. They do their own outreach and they're in a lot of camps up north. And then there's some folks that we work with that are downtown. Those are just kind of folks that either used to be down here and they have moved, or I connected with them when I worked at the warming station. So yeah, there's quite a few that we work with, but we mainly for our outreach, we stay down here on this far south side.
Did you just say that you started out by actually working at a warming center run by the Community Shelter Board?
So I started at the Columbus Coalition for the Homeless in 2020 in the pandemic in December. I was already running this. I had started it. I mean, it wasn't anything like this, honestly. It wasn't anything like this. It was me and maybe like 4 friends and the trunk of my car. It was way, way, way smaller. But I started that in September of 2020. So it just felt natural to work at the warming station and kind of get more experience, meet more population of folks, and connect with those resource folks that were coming in.
And then how did you develop your 501(c) and get funding and support from powers that be?
So we're still in the process of applying for our nonprofit. So in terms of funding, we hustle. We hustle hard. I'm a big believer in, sometimes it's easier to get like tangible items than it is to get money. And so what we usually try to focus on, unless we really need the money, is like the tangible items. Hey, like, can you donate this? Can you donate that? But I also use social media a lot when we do have specific money needs that come up. And so that's what we've utilized to fund us. We've really just made it so that, we are community based until we get this 501(c)(3, the paperwork all done and stuff. So it's really been a ton of community support. I supported out of my own pocket for the first probably maybe 2.5 years. My paychecks, I would work odd jobs and things like that to make sure that we would have enough food and whatnot. So, it's probably been within the last year and a half that we've been able to sustain quite a bit more in the community. They donate. I'll have people that will just come up to me and hand me like $100 and be like, I love the work you're doing. Gotta love this area. But they'll just give me money and say, hey, use it for food, use it for this. So that's kind of how we ran.
So you are now getting paid $16, getting paid for working 16 hours a week. And does that money coming from the Columbus Shelter Board?
Yeah, so I work as as a subcontractor with the transitional housing pilot or housing program right now. So I do work 16 hours and I work with Fairlane residents to, get their housing process
With the Fairlane residents? That is the trailer park that's right next door to Heer Park here. Because these are also people that we feed and who come and get our clothing and other supplies.
Yeah, so I work just the 16 hours. I mean, I work a lot more than that, but that's what I'm paid for. And so yeah, I'm there Monday through Friday. I transport folks, take them to get their IDs, take them to their medical appointments, take them to their housing appointments. We have a housing appointment Monday with a resident who's about to move in. So yeah, I kind of take on that role, and it's nice to finally get paid for once.
And then you also are have a relationship with Southeast Mental Health Services and Equitas, which is harm reduction. And do they go with you to the camps and provide services, medical services?
So they were supposed to be service providers for the hotel, Southeast and Equitas. So Equitas does the case management. Southeast isn't really active with us. So I don't go out with them for outreach. I don't go out with Equitas for outreach. When we do our outreach here, it's just us.
Do you have any medical people going with you?
Sometimes we have Dr. Minette. She is a doctor with OSU. She will come out to the hotel for wound care and access like assessments for folks. We don't have somebody that comes out specifically here for outreach, but we do have access to Mount Carmel's medical team comes out. And so if we have somebody that, really needs to be seen and, they're here and we can't, for whatever reason, we need somebody to come to them, we'll contact, we have a good relationship with a nurse at Mount Carmel and a doctor. And so they will then come out.
They come out, you don't have to transport them?
Nope, not unless they need the ER.
Okay. So how can people get involved? I know you have a website where you can sign up to bring food so that you can have an idea of how much food is coming. You don't have to bring enough food to feed like it used to be, like 100 people in the summer, but tonight it was like 30 or 40.
Yeah.
But you can sign up to bring something, and you can bring your, you can declutter and bring your clothes and household goods, and dog and cat food in little bags. They give like a week's worth supply of dog and cat food. Because homeless people have pets, they will adopt stray animals. So how can people find out about how to volunteer other than they can come here every other week? And what's your website? Oh, your website's Heer To Serve.
Yeah. So we have Instagram and Facebook. We're under Heer To Serve. Our Instagram, we have a link in there and it's on our Facebook too, where you can click it and it'll have more links on there. One of them, like Winie was talking about, is a sign up genius where you can sign up for food, to serve food, make food. There's other spots you can do. You can sponsor drinks. You can sponsor desserts. Tons of options. If you'd like to donate tangible items and you want to drop off or things like that, you can message our page on Facebook or Instagram. And if you want to donate, we do have Venmo and Cash App. That is also on our Facebook and our Instagram. If you want to come down to our serve, which you're more than welcome to, it's 151 West Williams Road. And so we serve every other weekend at 6:00. We have a hot meal, non-perishables, clothes, shoes, hygiene, first aid, menstrual products, Narcan, harm reduction. We really try to cover all those bases.
And Williams Road is just north of Great Southern Shopping Center, which is just north of 104. So it's easy to get to. And Gary and I are always here serving every other Saturday. So it'll be someone here.
Yeah, and we're pretty friendly. So if folks want to come on down, we would love to have you.
So let's open it up for questions.
Thanks, Winie and Emily. We'll probably include Kayla and Heather. Heather and Kayla are on now.
Oh,
so
Heather?
can we? Yeah. So can we sort of involve them in this conversation a little bit?
If we could do
and
Heather,
then we'll open up questions later.
Hey, Mark, if you could do Heather next. She has 2 other events today, so she's a busy woman, and I'm very
Kayla, is
grateful.
that good? We got Heather and then Kayla. Okay, Heather, you ready to go? Thank you.
Sure. So let me introduce Heather. She's the person who you might have seen it on the news. She was drives homeless people to shelters. She goes around and looks for them in the winter and drives them to shelters. But the shelters were all full during that zero weather, and she got Joel Miller at the pastor of
Columbus Mennonite
Mennonite. I
in
lost my picture.
Clintonville.
Can you
It's
still
okay.
see me? Can you still see me? I can't see you. Okay. Yeah. So she's the one and she got all those people vouchers because of her efforts there.
Well, thanks, Heather, for the Columbus Mennonite work and other work that you may do. Please describe yourself and the work that you want to get us to know more about. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. I've been doing outreach in one way or the other. Sometimes I was employed as like a case manager or engagement specialist, or I did a lot of different things working with unhoused folks. And then I always want to do my own thing, which I did on the side. I've only had my nonprofit for about 1.5 years now, my actual 501c3, but I do camp outreach, but it's just me and a couple volunteers that kind of cycle through. So we mostly just focus on Clintonville and Old North. And then when it's really hot or really cold, we do up and down in the Short North area from Clintonville up down High Street, in the areas that aren't touched by other organizations. So we do kind of similar to what Heer To Serve and Emily does, but on a much smaller scale.
Well, thanks. So the Mennonite Church operated through your guidance a warming center through the winter. Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. CSB, I worked, CSB is Community Shelter Board, are the folks that provide, they get all the grants and provide a lot of the funding for the shelters in Columbus and a lot of the outreach stuff. And so again, working at Van Buren at that shelter, which is the largest shelter in the United States. And, they're always trying like new programs and new things. Working there, I knew very intimately what the warming stations, how they operate them. So this past winter, I just had a feeling, and I spoke with some other folks, including Emily from Heer To Serve, and we all had the same feeling. The people that are actually on the ground doing the work, and not like in administrative roles, we knew what was going to happen. We thought we had a really good idea of what was going to happen. We were hoping we were completely wrong, like stupidly wrong, but we weren't. And anyways, in past years, my nonprofit, again, what we do is we go up and down the streets. We'll pick people up, out of their vehicles, out of their tents, off the street when the weather's really, really bad. And we're just trying to keep people from freezing to death is our goal. In past years, we have been able to pick those folks up sometimes when the weather's really bad, like when we actually get down in the, negatives or just above, we can pick up about 100 people a night. And so we need somewhere to take these folks. For years, we've had some warming stations, not always the best option, but at least somewhere we could take them. Had a feeling they weren't going to have that available this year. Emailed some churches, like literally blind carbon copied them and was like, hey, is any church willing to give me space? And the Mennonite church was incredibly responsive, got back with me in like less than a day and said, sure, like we have this basement, it's all yours. So unfortunately, we could only fit about 50 people in there, but it was enough that we were able to prove to the community that the Community Shelter Board was not living up to their promise that they had told everyone, which was, again, that no one will be cold, no one will be outside. So anyways, that's the impact that we made with that, I hope.
Thank you, Heather. Heather, people are asking the name of your 501c3.
Sorry, it's called Goldheart Outreach. Goldheart is one word. Yeah. And we don't have any website or anything, but we're on Facebook. You should be able to find us pretty easily.
Yeah. So we're sort of getting a quick reflection that housing issues are just not on the south side, but they're also in Clintonville. So let's start understanding that the economics of a community does not necessarily mean that the economics of an individual is right. So again, I want to repeat, we are building less houses than we did in 2001, and there's more people in Columbus now. So, thanks, Heather. If I'm gonna move to Kayla, unless you have one last or two last, three last things you want to do.
I've got one quick thing to say, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
Thank you, please.
It's just something that I always like to say every time that I speak anywhere. No matter how you feel about people that are unhoused, no matter what you think their motives are, why they might be the way they are, I think one thing that everyone can do is when you see someone who's unhoused, you can make eye contact with them. You can give them just a little wave. You don't have to give them a dollar, a cigarette, anything you have. But just, letting people understand that they are human beings, that no different than we are, is the biggest thing that anyone can do. And that doesn't matter how you feel about unhoused folks. Even jerks can do that. And that's all I had to say. Thank you so much for Winnie, for having me on, and thank you for giving me the time.
Heather, don't leave. This
Okay.
conversation's just getting going.
Okay.
So Kayla, please,
I
please.
unfortunately have to go. I'm really sorry. I'm
I
like
know you
just
do.
on the edge of it.
Yeah, I know you have to go, but thank you again for your work. But the one thing that you did bring out, and actually Emily as well, is that the winter is not the only time that we need to be concerned. It's not the only time that we need to think about the houseless folks. There's concerns continual year round, and we need to not just think winter. We need to think summer as well, and all seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I spoke with Winnie earlier, I did make the comment that I stand by, that I think that the numbers are a lot more than what is reported. And that's just based on what I see every day. So I don't know, they can count all they want, but when you do this every day, you can come up with a better idea than them, I think. So.
Yeah. So that one day count isn't capturing everything. We know that.
No, I mean, they didn't come and talk to me or not even me, but I'm saying any of my folks, didn't get spoken to. So, and that covers quite a few camps just in my little area. So,
Yeah. Well, thanks, Heather, and continue doing the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Stephen, for finding my my Facebook and putting it on there. That was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. And please know that Columbus Free Press wants, if you're writing anything, if you got things to put down on paper, please share and put that out into the Columbus Free Press as well, please.
Will do. Thank you.
Wendy, do you want to invite Kayla, or how do you want to do that?
No, I'll introduce Kayla, but Heather, do you need volunteers or donations of goods or people to volunteer to help you?
I do. Yeah, I'm always very, very open to volunteers. I can't go into camps by myself, so I always need someone to go with me. That's always something. I don't care if you can donate 1 hour; it's helpful. And I always need tents. I always need tents. So.
Okay. So if anyone wants to do a tent drive,
the police do have a bunch of tents that they just took from encampments on the Ohio State campus. I know. So
yeah, actually, oddly enough, my husband was returning a U-Haul the other day, and the U-Hauls were there full of them, and he is setting them up. So hopefully we can get some. So that's good.
Yeah,
Something good came out of it.
Yeah, they illegally stole a whole U-Haul filled with tents.
Yeah, I know where that is. If you'd like to.
Well, then, all right, there you go. All right,
Thanks,
Wendy,
guys.
please. Heather, be safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, my husband Gary Whitty has been doing a breakfast at on the west side, in Hilltop on Glenwood United Methodist on Sunday mornings, because right across the street there's homeless outreach by the Nazarenes called Jordan's Crossing, which is like full service. They have recovery meetings, and they give out tents, they give out food, they have food pantry, drive-through food pantry for not just homeless but poor people on the west side. And so, but they're in church on Sunday. So Gary said they don't have any place to go to eat on Sunday, so he's been doing pancakes, eggs, and bacon, and he formed a relationship with Kayla, and now she is going to be working out of Glenwood United Methodist with a project giving out. Well, she works at Huckleberry House, which is for like runaway teens and also 18 through 24 that are unhoused, to get them either back with their parents or in touch with social services or in housing if they're over 18. But that's not enough for her. No, she in her spare time she has to go and get supplies for the poor, for people in poverty. She has is going to work out at Glenwood United Methodist, and she got a grant, and she's going to hire staff, and she purchases items that are household hygiene items, etc. And so, Kayla, you can tell more about your nonprofit.
Yeah, so yeah, I do currently work at Huckleberry House, so that is my bread and butter that pays all of my lovely bills that I have. But in the meantime, before I actually started at Huckleberry House, I've been with them for about 3 years almost. I started a step in the right direction in 2019. So when I originally started it in 2019, there was a focus of reentry. So really focusing on our houseless population, our folks that are in recovery and people coming out of the prison system. 2020 came and hit everybody, like we all seen, and we saw that our low income and our houseless folks were the ones that were in need of the most assistance. So we started doing street outreach where we would do hot meals, clothes, harm reduction, and just connecting our people in the community to various organizations. And as Winie shared, we actually launched the first hygiene-free store for the west side of Columbus specifically last year in 2023. And we served over 4,000 people through that. And that included our houseless folks and our low poverty folks out here on the west side. So recently we were able to get a grant from a few members of city council to increase our serve in our hygiene-free store from 40 people a month to 100. So that's roughly about $45,000 that they gave us this year. That'll run from April to December. So I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years. In 2020, I actually got more focused with the homeless population because I stepped into a role of in Columbus when COVID happened. They started popping up like all these like overflow shelters to put all the houseless folks in. So I was one of the leads at the overflow at the YMCA on West Long Street downtown in Columbus. And we housed about 200 men from March till about, I think, like July. And then they moved them into another location. Worked at Columbus Public Health doing alcohol and drug harm reduction from that side of it. So I really continued to serve the houseless population, but that was more so all over the city. And then through my nonprofit, it allowed me to make more connections on the west side with our houseless population. So what we're now seeing from our standpoint is that not only are houseless folks being targeted and they're also having issues, just the low income families are also having issues where people are unable to pay their rent because the rent is going so high. So what's happening? They're either moving in with family members or also becoming homeless. So where do we find that prevention right now at? We don't even have enough resources for our houseless folks currently, and now we still have families and individuals that are becoming homeless just because they cannot afford the rent. And you see, like, I think they said the average person, a single adult in Columbus would have to make just to pay for the bare minimum bills, not even including like food, car, is about $22 an hour. And right now I think it's averaging about $13, $14 an hour. So it's really hard from our side because we're always trying to figure out better ways to serve our West Side community. And the good thing is our hygiene store is doing that. The good thing about our hygiene store and our hygiene program is we take away all barriers. So we don't ask for any identification, any proof that they live on the side of town. It's just a buddy system that we're trusting you just to be honest with us. And we're here to give you these items. No questions asked, just get them to you, and then we'll see you the next time. So yeah, that's my lovely sum for you guys today.
Well, thanks, Kayla. Winie, do you have more insight? But Kayla, thank you again. West Side has a variety of communities. Some are very well established and some are not. How do you find responsiveness to your work on that side of town?
So it's funny because I know Emily too from Heer To Serve. We work also tangent together here in the community. We'll share our resources with them and they'll do the same thing and vice versa. And I always tell Emily, like, you're my radical community person. She goes head to head. And then I'm like the calm to be like, okay, well, let's talk this out. So I have had people like give me pushback about, me giving out harm reduction and doing dinners, but I'm like, okay, well, what do you think the solution is? So I push it back on them to say, okay, if we're doing it now and we know there's a need, how are we going to fix the need? Because I'm more of a problem solver. You give me a problem, I'm going to try and figure out how to solve it, even if it's just by the littlest thing. And we do similar things like Emily and them, where we even just a plate of food, or during the summertime, I tell all my friends to put water bottles in the freezer. And then when they go out, give the houseless folks a frozen bottle of water. So they're not, so I try to help them get that aspect. I did have one time, there was somebody that really kind of followed us through our street outreach. And it just was like, the hardest thing to keep my composure, but I was like, kill them with kindness, like have them see that side. Like, what if it was your brother? What if it was your sister, your friend? Like, and this is the reason why I've done all this. Like I say, I have secondhand experience when it comes to all of this, knock on wood, I've never had to deal with homelessness. It's more like my family members have been in reentry and in homelessness and in addiction. So I see the need from them. And now I've seen it in my community, and how can I help my community? So it is harder, but I think there's more people on our side about helping the houseless folks and the low poverty folks than there are the people that are against us. And it weighs out, and you can really see it, because when we do have things, we are seeing the numbers that the people are using the hygiene free store, or they're calling and asking for another housing resource. And what we do is we make sure to keep all that data. So then when the questions come up, we can say this many people are asking for rental assistance, or this many people are in need of hygiene items, but we can only serve this many. Can you give us the money to put up? So we are a 501c3. So that what makes it a little bit better is now that we can, since we have those numbers showing the need on the west side, we can start going to city council and asking for more money than just 45,000.
You speak of the city council. Who are your allies there? I mean, don't name some names, but also then beyond that, no, let's start with that, and then I'll ask my other question.
Yeah, so the three main people that are supporting the hygiene store are technically two of the newest council members. So Council Member Nancy and Council Member Chris. And then Shayla Favor put a little bit of money in towards the end to get us up to that 45 amount that we asked for.
Yeah.
And Nancy, if you guys know, Nancy is from the West Side. So she's really big in making sure the West Side is taken care of, especially since she's seen the need. Chris was very open. Technically, the district that we work out of isn't even his district that he's over, and he still felt the need to give us thousands of dollars. So my hope is that Monday I get to go speak in front of city council for them to approve the funding as a unit. So my goal is that hopefully all this other city council members will hear these numbers, and we may be able to get pulled in future, whether that's next year or maybe this year, to increase our serve.
So this Monday, you have a time to be on the agenda at city council, and that might be a good time for folks to show up. Maybe?
Correct. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, if people could come out and show their support for us, I mean, the ultimate goal is if we can get the West Side covered, we're hoping to branch out and be able to cover other sides. I know with Emily and her team over there at Heer To Serve, they know that since we have the hygiene program, if they need hygiene, they reach out to us. And that's our goal, is since we do have our 501c3, if we can help out our other smaller grassroots organizations like us, we want to be able to do that the best we can without even fluffing up the numbers at the top.
Thank you. Thank you. Winie, I know are you driving? You're moving right now. So I don't know if you want to sort of bring more of your interest in this. But I do want to say that in June, Old First Presbyterian Church is going to host a third space on housing issues. And Kayla and Heather, and we have already invited Emily to come. But that's that third Saturday at 7 o'clock, and you'll have some music and some other things. So third Saturday, that's Bryden in Ohio, on the Near East side of town. But we'll talk more, and we'll announce that better. But yeah, Monday, City Council, yes. So Winie, you unmuted, so please go ahead.
Well, I'd like to talk I'm sorry, we're in a car now. It's very noisy, so let me know if you
No,
can't
we hear
understand.
you fine. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So I'd like to talk more about what's driving all this homelessness. Every year in January or February, the federal government mandates that 3,000 cities in the United States do a survey of homelessness. And for the last 5 years, every time I look, they identify about 2,000 people that are unhoused and about 500 that are sleeping outside. And this year it was 2,400 unhoused and almost 1,900 that they did count them in shelters, taking refuge in shelters or in transitional housing.
And you're saying Columbus, Ohio, right?
Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
and 500 outside. But the thing,
Yeah.
and 57% of them are men, but over like 53%, over half are African American or Black, which is a much greater percentage than the population of Black people in Columbus. There was this one homeless camp that was taken down on South Parsons Avenue behind the post office in a parking lot. And we talked to the people that were in there. They said that the homeless people in the camp said that in their view, 75% of people had mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
The VA did come in and interview the people, and they got the families that had minor children into housing, and the VA came and got 25 veterans out of this encampment that had about 45 people in it. So veterans and mental illness are a big thing. People think it's all alcoholics and addicts, and that's true also. And what really kills me is when people say, don't give money to the homeless, they'll just go and get a drink or their drugs. But if you have an addiction, they don't understand addictions are an addiction because they change your brain, and your brain doesn't work without the drug. And you go into withdrawal, which is extremely, well, it's life-threatening, and it's extremely painful. So the thing is, the city of Columbus says that we need 53,000 more affordable housing units. We only have 12,000. So that we only have a fourth of the need. But why do we need 53,000 affordable housing units if we only have 2,400 unhoused people? This is from a dispatch article, like most dispatch articles are Betty, whether it was under the auspice of the Wolves or Gannett, it raises more questions than it answers. But they did say that the city had a little public statement about the homelessness, and they said the causes of homelessness. One thing, there's very many low-income closings of housing developments like Latitude 525, Galloway Village, Colonial Village, and you
Well,
probably
Franklin
heard about
County.
those.
Yeah, Franklin County is one of the highest counties of evictions in the nation. I mean,
Wow.
it's just the state, it's the nation that we're
Hilltop
number one almost. Yeah.
Hilltop has a 25% eviction rate. The Near East Side, Linden, and the South Side have 18%.
Yeah.
This is crazy because you evict families, then they can't find new housing because they have an eviction record.
Yeah.
And it said evictions are at a 20-year high. But there's also, even the middle class are being evicted from their apartments. There was a story in the dispatch about people that lived up by near Scioto Reservoir in a nice apartment complex, and they all lost their leases, and because they were going to redo them and then raise the rent 1/3, and they said, we can do that, but what are we going to do? They gave them a 30-day notice. So that's this. It's even happening to the middle class. It's gentrification. So there is a new zoning plan. So they're going to allow high-rise apartments all along the major arteries. This is going to displace more people all along Parsons. High Street, West Broad, and also Morse Road. So Joseph Baker of the National Organization Minority Architects said that he was concerned if they put up high rises on redeveloped Morse Road, that's going to displace minority populations that already live there, which are African Americans around, Carl Road, and also the Somalis. So these are all this development is and gentrification is driving, and also the closings of these low income housings that where the building codes were not enforced. That's why they deteriorated, and now the people are all evicted and homeless.
Yeah, Winnie, thank
So-
you. Yes, and continue, but the zone in thing, there is a display that is up for folks to have comment, and they are asking for public comment on the zone in, the new zoning changes that they're talking about. And what Winnie was speaking about is that they're really trying to increase density in a lot of ways that will not benefit families, will not benefit people of color, will not benefit community development. And so we have to really understand, what they're building. Yeah, they have an enormous amount of apartments for like single professionals, young single professionals, right? That are coming up
downtown.
coming up, build. And they're not filled. They're like 30% filled. They're 30%, 40% vacancy or occupancy. So I encourage you to get involved, and we need to write more about, and if folks are going to those things, please write more about the new zoning aspects, the little houses that they're talking about, the new slave buildings that they're putting in, the servant houses that they're going to put into adjacent houses. So yeah, so go ahead.
Wait, what did you say, Mark?
Oh, those houses, the old style that they had, the slave houses that were behind the big mansions. They're talking about allowing people to build their second house on the side of a house. Those are all slave. That's all slave mentality, servant mentality, and I'm concerned about that as well. So I would encourage us to get deeper into what the zoning. This is the public comment time right now, so we need to really get involved with where the city is going on developing housing, and because they think that the cheap is going to work, and the cheap is not going to work. It's not going to work. We need to really think about it nationally, local, state and local. So
that there are comment periods on Saturday, May 18th, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, May 14th, 15th, and 16th, and Tuesday, May 21st, and Wednesday on June 5th. These are times when you can go downtown to City Hall,
right.
at a building next to City Hall, I think called the Zoning Gallery. It's on the City Hall campus, and you can view the blueprints for it, and city council members will be there. They will also be in the evenings of May 7th, June 6th, and June 27th from 5:30 to 7 at Douglas Recreation, Scioto Southland Community Center on Parsons, and down and at the city council meeting. So to get more specifics of that, I think Suzanne was going to post a link to the dispatch article. No, I'm not sure if we can. You can, look on the City of Columbus website for the zone in comment period for those times and places.
Brian Curtis has mentioned that it's 141 North Front Street, northwest corner of Front Long, zoning gallery. The zoning gallery. Is it 141 or is it 111?
It's 141.
141. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Kayla, What's burning on you right now? What's burning on your brain right now after hearing some of this stuff? What's going on? Anything? You don't have to. I'm just saying. Unmute. Yeah, yeah. Stephen, you may have to unmute her again.
You want to say anything?
And yeah, Emily, is Emily still with you too? No, you muted yourself as well. So all y'all guys are technologically dysfunctional. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, I got it. I got it figured out. No, it's like, here's the big thing is that we have so many of us little people that are in tune with the community shelter board and the YMCAs, right? Because the community shelter board, they get the money and they disperse the money. Technically, they shouldn't get the money and disperse the money. You don't ever usually see that in general. That's why the federal government, the state government, city council, they give money to us nonprofits, other organizations. So like one, that's the big thing. And they make all the rules, right?
I like that.
And now we're putting everything on them. And I have had wonderful conversations with Steve Savinsky that's over there. He's been in the houseless community for quite some time. And I knew him before he became on the community shelter board when he was at the YMCA. Great people over there. I just don't think we all realize that, I don't hold anything against Steve because I know he's a good person, but I know he also has to report to somebody at CSB and they are making the rules that he has to follow. So then you have organizations like myself, like Emily, or just ordinary people like Winnie and Gary out here doing the best we can, being as a collective in the community, because we all have one thing that we want to do, which is serve the community and make sure our houseless folks are safe. So it's like, how can we get there to where we're not all depending on one agency to lead the charge for housing in Columbus? And just thinking about it from me, I live in the North Hilltop. So just the greater Hilltop area, we have the largest population in Columbus, in Franklin County. And that's just one community. So now we're talking about the far west side. Now we're talking about Franklinton. We're talking about the little communities out there on the south side. There just is not enough housing. And I would love for you guys to take a look. Greater Hilltop technically has over, and this is a guesstimate because I haven't checked it recently, the land bank properties that we have, just blank properties in the middle of residential spaces. There's over 200 just in the Greater Hilltop. And they just sit there. People don't want to buy them, or the developers buy them. They come in. I think I seen a house in the middle of Central Hilltop for it was like $450,000. Like, who can afford that? And most of the people in the Greater Hilltop area, they all rent. I think it's like 70-something% of folks rent. They do not own their home here in the Hilltop, and nor can they afford it because the market is too high. People are redeveloping these houses. It's going sky high. So nobody can actually live in the community that they're raised in. I was raised on the west side. So when I went to go looking for my house, I was like, I have to be on the west side somewhere. I don't care where. So it's like, how do we figure out and navigate that to where we're not depending on the YMCA? Like, we can, as a collective, like, me, like Emily's, all of us can come to a collective. We've already been doing it now. Now, how do we make this on a larger scale?
Yeah. Michael is talking about the venture capitalists that have come in. It is sort of almost to a point. Oh, Winnie must have lost out. It has come to a point that the super majority of the houses that are available are owned by folks that are from California. Let's just put it out. Let's just put it out there. And they're not, local owned, local concerned about the person that they're going to put in that building. They don't care. They just want to make money. So we're at that point, and Intel and all the other Amazon and all the other developments that are happening. It's great for our economy, supposedly, but who's getting those jobs, etc. But then who are able to buy houses I mean, myself, I'm nearing retirement. I haven't bought a house yet. I have not bought a house yet, and I've been looking for 20 plus years. And my wife is mad at me. And so that just because, you know, you made so many mistakes, you should, but I'm telling you, there's been reasons because income was not right, debt ratio was not right. There's many different reasons why people don't buy houses at that point. And if you're a first home buyer, there should be a whole lot more. City council should be allowing a whole lot more allowances of and credits and a whole lot of other things to provide people to get into these houses that you mentioned that are sitting there waiting for someone to buy. Not building new, rehabbing, rebuilding, and recollecting into a community what we need to do. So those are some major discussions that we need to talk about as a community, as a progressive, and as we are a radical, Kayla, we are radical community. So we want to push the button a little bit more on some things. So I appreciate your input on this and Emily's work. You guys are frontline, and we always try to support the frontline worker wherever they're at. So Winnie, you back on. So did you have any other thing? Kayla, please keep talking as you want to.
No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay, and if anybody else, Michael, you mentioned the venture capitalists. You got your burn. Now the Poor People's Campaign. I do want to mention Poor People's Campaign is going on June 29th. We're going to take DC. So come get on a bus and go to DC and shake and rattle and roll in DC. Free buses from Columbus. Let's go. And then there's also, we're trying to get the 30 to what is it, 30%? No, what is it? I don't know the numbers. I forget the numbers right now. But they're saying nationally, if we get 30 million of the poor and low wage workers to vote this year, I'm like, who are they going to vote for? Who are they going to vote for? But that's the biggest issue. I'm sorry. But if we can get them to vote, that can change the character of the whole reality. And they are the largest. Poor and low wage workers are the largest registered voters, but don't vote. They're the largest registered voter amount of people that so this is that Poor People's Agenda. I don't want to get too deep into it, but yeah, I know, Brian. It's the same weekend as the Confess, and I'm not sure I'm going, but let's if we can't make it to Confess, or if we can't, what's this? Oh, but anyways, let's try and maybe make Confess a place where we make the discussion of housing and where we're moving as a point to go. So I agree that we need to, what is this? I don't know what that is. But anyways, thanks, Kayla. Suzanne, how do you want to end this up? This conversation is 8:05. We'll probably we usually go into sort of a more informal flow kind of conversation at the end of our presentations. Yes, registering voters is very important, but again, the Poor People's Campaign has decided that we're not trying to register people. We're trying to just get the folks that are already registered move, get out, get vote. But again, let's make Confess a Poor People's Agenda. Let's make Poor People's a major element at Confess this year. I think that would be very important. Tim Chevis asked me about that this week, of whether we were going to do our salon again there. And I don't know if we had talked about that yet, Suzanne, or not, but
No. You mean
So
like,
he wanted to maybe get us into the piece. I said, go ahead, do it. Let's
I don't
it's-
think we should, I don't think
don't
it's
want-
not can you hear me? It's
Yeah.
it's not a second Saturday to have a salon at ComFest, but we'll probably have an event, a hour and a half at the Peace Tent.
okay.
So I'm gonna stop the live stream if you want to move to just the informal talking now. So you want to do that?
Is everybody good? Like, if everybody else has any last comments about what we wanted to get it on the recording stage. If not, we'll go and flow more later as we cut off recording. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.